Welcome to Hello Uterverse,
where perinatal peeps come for more evidence, more clarity, and fewer WTFs. We're Jen and Heidi, labor nurses, educators, and research obsessives, here with you in podcast form.
From deep dives to surprising rabbit holes, we're here to help you think differently about the work you do every day.
Let's launch.
Hello Uterverse.
We're here. We're doing it. We're making a podcast.
We're making a podcast. Yeah, we've been long time coming on this, right?
Mhm.
It was the group chat name for a while.
Yeah, for a long time.
A long time. Thanks, Coco.
Yeah. My son started calling a uterus a Uterverse because, of course, he would know the anatomically correct words for that. Since I'm a labor nurse, of course, he would know that.
All 3-year-olds know that.
Is that not a common thing for all 3-year-olds to know what a uterus is?
Yeah. And, have a lot of things going on. We have a website, we've got classes, but I think the podcast especially came from us having a shared love/hate of the question or the statement, this is how we've always done it, or it's always been this way, or that sort of idea of things not changing, which of course is like bananas.
Or you, as you would say, for your word of the year, you've said is cuckoo bananas.
I know. I'm regretting that being my word of the year.
It kind of has manifested some cuckoo banana stuff for you.
Yes, it has. But speaking of cuckoo bananas, you and your rabbit holes.
I do love a good rabbit hole. It's just, there's something about it where give me a topic, doesn't matter what it is, and I will just investigate it to its end.
Yeah, buckle up.
Buckle up, buddies, because this is what this podcast is all about.
Mm-hmm. So what tends to happen is either Heidi or I will hear something that is just a, this is how it is type statement regarding practice issues or something. And I don't know if we get an itch or it activates something, a neural implant in us, and we just off we go down that rabbit hole. And so that's really the framework or the impetus for this whole podcast is this how we've always done things, or actually is it that things change, right? Things are constantly evolving and changing, and it's really hard as a bedside nurse to keep up on all of that.
Right. I mean, stuff is coming out all the time. And so when I hear things at work, even when I was at work yesterday, someone made a statement about we need to do X, Y, Z. And I kind of stopped and questioned that. And I said, oh, well, my understanding was that it was actually this thing.
Yeah.
So
tell us about it. What happened at work yesterday?
So yesterday we had a patient that she was really sick, and we were trying to figure out kind of what was going on. I got her partway into her recovery, and she had HELP and was really, really sick. And she was also septic, and it was kind of an odd presentation. And I was, flagged that her lactate was up. And so we were trying to figure out what was going on. And the provider was like, well, I think HELP can make her lactate go up. And I was like, oh, really? I wasn't familiar with it, with that being a thing. So she's like, well, let me look that up.
Right. Cause I mean, that happens all the time where we hear something and you're like, is that a me? You got to stay humble, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Things do and can change. And you can't keep everything in your brain at once.
No. Anyway, so it was just a good moment where she was like, now I don't know either. Let me look it up. And I was like, okay, I got to go take another blood pressure, and we'll circle back in a couple of minutes, Yeah.
I will have to say, one thing about where Heidi and I work is we have the best coworkers and doctors and midwives.
We
that
really,
work with
really
us.
do.
The story that she just told about that is not a one-off. It is absolutely always how it is. Everyone stays humble, and everyone is very willing to be like, you know what, you're busy, Dr. So-and-so, let me look this up on UpToDate, or I'm pretty sure it's this. I'll call you right back. And they're fine with it. Or Heidi had to go back to the bedside. The doctor is like, let me double check on that thing. It is just how, and we've worked at the same hospital forever.
Yeah.
So then we just have been living our life thinking that this is totally normal way of being. All of our coworkers are this way. And
Mhm.
then we get out into the greater world, the universe, as it were,
Mhm.
which side note, the universe is not just labor and
Us.
delivery, right?
Yeah.
It's not just Heidi and I. The universe is anyone having to do with anything in the birth world. And come to find out, it does not operate like this everywhere.
No. Hence on our website where it says nursing is wild.
Yeah.
Because it truly is. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, the universe is really like comprised of doctors and midwives and doulas and birth ethicists. Yeah.
Pelvic floor PTs. Like
Yeah.
we have just an amazing community of like friends and colleagues. And, hopefully through both the podcast and our classes and our website and stuff, we're going to be sharing all of the part. The universe is all of us, right?
Mhm.
Postpartum, right? So
Yeah. So kind of like circling back to that when we're like, have we always done it this way? What we need to look at is how we're doing it right now is this evidence-based practice, which kind of brings us
to the beginning.
to the beginning, which is what is evidence-based practice?
What is evidence-based practice? And I was going to start, we get questions all of the time about, DMs or this or that.
Mhm.
And I particularly liked this one because I think it's a great spot to start or to leap off from in this conversation about and getting the podcast kicked off about what is evidence-based practice. And I'm going to read this and everyone's going to be like, oh, I felt this. I felt this
Mhm.
question. What if there is risk, but I don't have the evidence, or they put it science words,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
There's like that. I mean, so many layers to this that we can't get through all of. I mean, we could slice and dice that. I
This
mean,
is an onion of a
an
question.
onion of a question. This is where evidence based practice can be so helpful because we kind of freeze a little bit like, if I don't frame this question perfectly, or I don't present my argument or my reasoning
Mhm.
perfectly, am I going to just be dismissed?
Right.
But I also recognize that my patient's on the line. So I also want to be, accurate. We want to be clear in our communication. And so there's this tension between I need to communicate what I'm feeling in a way that's going to be both received and is like accurate.
Mhm.
Although vibes for me is always plenty of
Mhm.
reason to say something, right? Like, oh, this is just not looking or good, feeling good. But
Yes.
if we want to develop like credibility and good relationships with all of our colleagues, like being able to navigate evidence well
Mhm.
is kind of where name of the game.
Yeah, it's really helpful. So, on our website, we have a free downloadable that is kind of gearing up for intro to evidence based practice. It's free and use that as you're listening to this podcast because in subsequent episodes, we're going to dive into certain studies and talk through them. And this will break down the fundamentals of what evidence based practice is, different parts of a study, different types of studies, and is going to be just kind of a helpful guide to go alongside as you're listening to episodes and as like maybe you're getting down your own rabbit holes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't wait for people to like let us know what kind of rabbit holes are
I
going
know.
down.
I can't wait for those night shifters to send us like the 3 a.m. DMs that like,
Just
okay, I'm down this rabbit hole.
unhinged.
Yeah.
Absolutely unhinged, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Okay. So evidence based practice is what we call like an epistemology. It's a way of filtering through information because information's like more available than any other point in history, right?
Mhm.
For nursing especially, there was, back in the day, it's you did have textbooks. You had to go get your textbook. Then we got, the internet. I know my dad's retired as a nurse, my grandma was a nurse, and it's like their concept of like this information sharing on like Instagram or through Facebook
Mhm.
groups, they love it. They're like absolutely tickled by it, but they're like also I have definitely inherited as you did because you come from a nursing family
I do.
also.
Yeah.
Oh, we want that textbook. We
Mhm.
want to go
Yeah. Turn to page 270 and I'm going to blow your mind.
I need a good index in the back. Oh, I love an
I do. I
index.
know. I still love that.
Do you ever just like crack open this God, sound like such nerds. But
Mhm.
I'll be looking for one thing in the index and it'll have a different, it's like all of the different topics that you could possibly search for within this massive, 600-page textbook.
Mhm.
And then I'll just like, one will catch my eye and I'll be like, oh, I wonder what they have to say about this.
Yeah.
Totally derails you. Not what we were looking for. So
Rabbit hole in print.
rabbit hole in print. Old school rabbit hole in. It's gonna be a t-shirt or something. Heidi's like, shut up, Jen. So evidence-based practice is a way of epistemology of funneling through information, which we have
Mhm.
so much of right now. Historically, the way I was taught it, in nursing school or grad school was that it's conceptualized by like a three-legged stool, and you have to have all three parts or else the stool falls over. And the three parts are like research evidence, what we think of as evidence, like, articles, textbooks, studies, things like that.
Mhm.
Then there's our experiences, right? As a clinician, I'm bringing the last, whatever, 5,000 patients or however many I've seen in my career,
Right.
some number of patients, we're funneling, okay, this patient kind of looks like these ones I've seen before.
Mhm.
And then obviously the patient, they have their lived experiences, they have their values, their what's important to them, what's going to be their choice ultimately for their care. And so we thought of it as a three-legged stool and knew about all that information together sort of at once, or the stool would fall over. But that's not really how it works in practice. And I think when we try to do that, it feels clunky. It can feel a little messy because you're sort of to do all of those pieces at the same time are challenging. So there has to be some sort of like stepwise process
Mhm.
for filtering down because we can't take the whole of the internet and present it all. I can't put out, if Heidi's drags out, all 16 of her textbooks,
Mhm.
a patient's going to be like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's just not realistic and
Well, what makes even sense for this circumstance?
right.
So now the way I think is a little bit better way of conceptualizing this, and this is, not my framework, this is somebody else's framework, is a funnel. And the top of the funnel is what we think of as evidence, like that classic, like the research,
Mhm.
case studies, published evidence, basically. And so you start there. And the thing is that changes. And that's kind of why it's important to start there because we all know like the top of the funnel, it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. So we
Mhm.
have to be really good at discerning what evidence, the quality of the evidence, the applicability of the evidence. And so that's that second piece is we are kind of taking all of that research, knowledge, evidence out there. And then that second piece is our experiences as a clinician. And
Mhm.
we're filtering it out a little bit of what's going to make sense for our particular situation based on our experiences.
Right.
And then of those, handful of things that now have been funneled, through the funnel, we got rid of, 95% of the stuff that's just like not applicable
Mhm.
to this situation. And then here are the actually available and reasonable choices for our patient. And I think that makes it a little less daunting. And actually, people are like, oh, yeah, I'm doing evidence based practice kind of all day, every day. We're sort of doing this process, I think, without,
Realizing it or putting a name to it.
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But like back to the top of the funnel, that stuff can really change
Mhm. All the time.
all the time. You were just telling me about one of your rabbit holes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this was like an accidental rabbit hole. I was listening to This Kiss by Faith Hill, had it on. And in the song, she's describing that this kiss causes like centrifugal motion. And I was like, okay, what does that actually mean? I look it up. Obviously, my internet is like geared towards
Birth.
labor and birth.
The algorithm has been
the-
built brick by brick for this one.
yeah, for sure. So the first thing that comes up is centrifugal force in birth. And I'm like, wait, what? And so there was this thing called the Blonsky method that came out in the late 60s. by this guy named George Blonsky.
You just told me everything. The 60s by this guy.
By this guy. That's pretty much how everything starts, right? Wild time. Anyways, he came up with this board/device. It's a circular board that a woman is strapped to. Okay, they're like splayed out, strapped to. The middle is cut out, and there's a net to catch what? The baby. So centrifugal force is used to spin women around, and it's going to help like launch the baby out.
Yeah.
And the amount of like G forces that are emitted from the spin is like the same as like what like a fighter pilot experiences. Like it's really, really fast. So this was kind of like developed on the brink of like when we thought like space travel was like really going to take off, and we were going to get to a point where we were going to have pregnant astronauts that needed to deliver in space and needed to,
With
you
like
know,
no
with
gravity.
no gravity.
Okay.
So like this is the way that they're going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I see where he's going with this.
Yeah.
Like he's like really thinking forward, like, okay, birth is fine, but how is it going to work in space? So that definitely like softens the blow of like.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where it got to, but initially it started as, you know, if women are having trouble delivering, you know, can we use this to help get a baby out that we're having difficulty get out? And then it kind of led to this. Obviously, it never came out into practice because
Mrs. Blonsky said,
yeah, Charlotte was her name. She
Charlotte
was like,
was like, lay off
absolutely
the
not.
LSD,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not being strapped to this thing. I mean, I just essentially like picture someone being like duct taped to a merry-go-round.
You have to laugh, otherwise you're like,
I know. Otherwise it's just
horrifying.
You know?
Okay. That did bring up something for me because again, as things change, you also have to think about like the context and the time in which these were happening. And I think about very early 1960s. Well, we didn't synthesize Pitocin until the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
It was not widespread. We weren't using Pitocin as a force generator the way we do now in like whatever 50% of our prime-ups are getting Pitocin for induction, plus another percentage for augmentation. So that was our force generator. But in the early 60s, I mean, I think the guy, it was a professor from Cornell who synthesized it. We would get it from like, I think animals or something like that, but it was hard. It was not, you know, very pure, all of these things. And so make it synthesized in a lab, that happened actually like in the late 50s, like post World War II. And it started prior to the war. Then, you know, things got put on halt, like synthesizing hormones to like eject babies out of women's bodies was like not a top defense priority at the time. Men were at war. No one should be having babies. I don't know. So that makes sense that he's thinking like that there actually is maybe a real need for some sort of force generating situation. Launcher.
Yeah.
I love how we're trying to soften.
We're trying to like soften this.
This guy's actually just an unhinged lunatic.
Maybe not. You know,
well,
we don't know.
We had the Artemis, and everyone was like locked in on that. Miss Universe went around the backside of the moon.
I know. So maybe we are going to need that Blonsky method.
Yeah, put a pin on that one. I know. This is going to be one of those archived things that people are like, oh, I found this podcast from 2026 where they were talking about the Blonsky, which like, and everyone uses that now. Probably not.
It's going to replace Pitocin.
Exactly. Well, I know. Well, for me to be like, maybe not is like really saying something. So it's like,
I know. That's kind of your general approach to stuff, you know?
Right. You know, so that top of funnel is always evolving, always changing. And it is hard as a nurse to in our day-to-day keep up on all of those things, or even just to realize it's happened. Like the same thing. I mean, we always got to stay humble. Like I lady in my 40s, having some sleep issues, and my husband is telling me, well, you just got to take melatonin. But I learned in nursing school 20 years ago, that you shouldn't take melatonin unless really necessary, because it's going to like mess up your own, you know, we were taught that you would stop making melatonin.
Right.
And so he's like, take some Helmer. I'm like, you're not getting me hooked on, you know, hard drugs. And is also a scientist. He's an engineer. So he, different obviously than us, but he's like, well, let me look into it. So he looked into it and he's like, babe, it doesn't seem like that is in fact the case anymore. It's
not what the research is saying anymore.
That's right. So my top of funnel. So the top of funnel used to be like, don't take it. It's not good.
Mm-hmm.
That got filtered down to me as the patient of like, well, I don't want that. But now if that top of funnel changes and it doesn't, give me that sweet, sweet, sweet melatonin.
Auntie Jen's going night night.
Auntie Jen's going night night. Yes. So it is actually very effective. I'm not
good. Have you been sleeping better?
I've been sleeping better, but it makes you have very vivid dreams.
Oh no.
Do you want to?
I don't know if I want to hear. Is this safe
Heidi,
for work?
we're getting, I think it's because we're getting ready to go on our girls trip to Miami. I think this is where this dream came from.
Wait. Okay.
So I have this dream the other night. I am hugely pregnant. Geriatric pregnancy. I'm massively, I go into labor. I go to the hospital. Who do I call?
Me, please.
You, and I call He.
Oh, America's favorite
greatest.
doula.
America's favorite doula, America's favorite labor nurse. And we go to the hospital and I'm in labor. You've got your giant bag of like Swedish gummy candy because you're like, girl, you're going to need some energy.
Gotta keep that glucose up.
Keep that glucose up. And he's like locked in. She's like, my time to shine. I'm going to doula the heck out of you. So we're doing our thing.
Love it.
All of a sudden I can hear club music, like 2000s club music, like
50 Cent.
No, like da 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 da. I'm gonna be my lover.
Is that 2000s or 90s?
I don't date people. I don't know. Probably about 2000.
That sounds like Night at the Roxbury.
It's a little Night at the Roxbury, and I'm magically transformed. I've got the dress that I wore to the club in the early 2000s. My club years were like 2000 to like 2006.
You just dated yourself.
I did just date myself. I had a blue lame like little dress. We were there. We were at the club. I was like, I'm in labor. I got to get to the club. There was nothing that was going to keep me from this club. Anyway, so long story short, melatonin's back in. Evidence base is hot and
have Night at the Roxbury level dreams.
Yeah. And we're here for it.
We're not sponsored.
We're not sponsored by any of these things. So I think that's a good place to stop for this episode.
Yeah. We're kind of, again, we just get down these rabbit holes. But yeah. So with evidence-based practice, it's viewed as that funnel now. We got to weed through. There's good, bad, then our own experience, and then kind of presenting like, what does the patient want? What is applicable to them? And that's kind of how we get there. And we know that those things change and they change all the time. That's why we need to have an attitude of being curious and a lifelong learner, which is just another reason why we're doing this, because we still learn stuff all the time.
All the time.
So welcome to this crazy journey.
Yeah.
Full of rabbit holes, and
welcome to the Uterverse.
Welcome to the Uterverse. We're happy that you're here. We're happy to be here with you guys. So download that guide. It's going to be helpful to you for your practice and for following along in this podcast.
Catch you next time.
Yep. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Hello Uterverse.
For more evidence, clarity, and community, head to uterverse.com and follow us on TikTok and Instagram at hello.uterverse.
Nursing is wild. Practice with confidence.